Hi, I've been wanting to do this for a little while. Just kind of add some more education and insight as to what's going on. Every day's new. Every day's new. And really, I'm just trying to bring awareness and evoke a different emotion and conversation through allowing anyone to, see what's going on inside my house, my father's house, and our lives. ALS is one hell of a ravage. Every disease is, no question. ALS is just a very unassuming and questionable disease. Every single case seems to be very different. Everyone has their own story and own struggles. There's only one common thread that ALS delivers amongst all its patients, and ALS, to this day, always wins. You lose your life, you wait for that to happen, eventually not being able to speak, talk, swallow, breathe, even with the help of a trach and everything else. It's a motor neuron disease, and it eats away at your muscles. My father started at about 185, 190 pounds. He's now about 150. He seemingly progressed quite quick. I'll bring you back 2 years ago. He had back problems, and who would have thought? Let's go see a chiropractor. That led to, his, within 6 months, his knees starting to kind of not give out, but have issues, walking, couldn't walk far distances. And that's when the test became part of, life. What's really going on, brain scans, CAT scans, blood tests, every test you can imagine to eliminate everything from cancer to ALS. Of course, ALS, I didn't even know it was on the list. Just if it was the very end. Because it's not genetic, it's just kind of one of those things. You wake up with a headache, you wake up with ALS. I think there are some cases of genetic, but very few and not so proven. There's 3,000 ALS patients in Canada, about the same in the US. I think there's 15 new patients diagnosed every day in North America. It's still a very small community, albeit big when it's in your life. I'm just trying to raise new conversation, evoke more emotion around this, and allowing people and to be vulnerable, allow people to see inside my house, my life, my father's life. It's terrible. So 2 years ago, he experienced the back. A year and a half ago, his knees. And then about a year ago, his legs would just give out. Without question, without understanding, he would knock his head off of a cabinet and cut it open. And, that was the onset of ALS, but no one knew. Now he is bedridden. He's in his bed days at a time. He wears a diaper. He can't pick anything up. He can't pick his grandchildren up. All these struggles that you see. He drinks through a straw. He can hold something. He can't turn it. So he's forced to this straw. He still breathes fine. He still speaks great. ALS is a unique, devastatingly ravaged thing where it doesn't affect your mind or your eyes, but just about everything else in different stages. Of course, no one knows what that stage will be until you wake up and learn it. But it is a really jarring thing, and it's slow. There's medication available, but it prolongs it by short periods, months at a time, depending on when you can catch it and start taking Radicava and all these drugs. The ALS societies are incredible. They try and do everything they can. But they're great. These are champions and passionate champions at that. PSWs are, great in themselves. Some of them don't really know much about ALS and are thrown into these situations. But I'm just bringing you up to speed and letting you know, like, the onset and how it happened and where we are. And Frank's really had it for about 2 years, but, confirmed over the course of 6 months, maybe 5 months, and rapidly progressed. The average ALS patient is, 3 to 5 years is I think the average, and some, of course, sooner that lose their life, and some longer. Ironically enough, Stephen Hawkins was an ALS patient and lived till 54. I think he was diagnosed when he was 20. So that man really challenged it. But the only common thread that ALS delivers is the fact that it kills you, and you can't get around that. So it's quite the life sentence. I'll continue to update and as you see, and add as much insight as I can. It's a difficult time of year. I'll do my best to post. I had a younger brother. He was killed. His birthday's coming up, November 26th, and he was killed December 2nd. He was hit by a car and died of brain damage. And we were quite close. So it's a very challenging time. Of course, every time is challenging, but right now we're reminded by these things. I'm actually looking at a picture of him right beside me, and I realize it. Anyway, so as my father, another thing about ALS is depression, which he's starting to battle. It also comes at a time where he struggles with the scenario of my brother and losing his son. Adds enough depression to someone's life, and I have to at least end this by saying there are those that struggle with ALS and eventually lose their lives. There are those involved, especially the immediate caregiver, and in this case, my mother, who has become a superhero. I'll be honest, I didn't think she'd be capable of half of what she does, and she redefines that every day. So thanks again for following along, and onwards and upwards.